Thanks for coming to 1500ESPN.com. Zulgad, Matthew, Coller. Day 2 of the draft. Matthew is done. The Vikings very busy. Starts with the Dalvin Cook trade. Your thoughts on Rick Spielman wheeling and dealing his way through Friday evening here at Winter Park?
Well, it surprised me a little bit because there's still
stoop lower.
Sorry,
stoop lower.
I got to be all the way back here.
You're too tall
to meet your height.
I'm not used to
this. Do it this way. A little surprised because they have a bunch of needs, and I thought there were some intriguing players toward the end of the 3rd round that they might be going after, but instead they decide to pick up a bunch of 4th round picks, and now I think they have to look for players that will fill out the roster. I think it also gives us the idea that the rest of this roster will be addressed. We're going down here. Here we go. There we go.
Going. We're just going to keep going.
Yes,
it's late.
That's better. That's better.
Late. It's not Blair Witch Project, at least.
That we will be, that they will very likely be addressing in free agency, I think, is where we're going to see some of those key spots. Yes, I think after the draft, something like a defensive back who might be able to step in and play.
Interesting.
I think that that's more of a free agent spot. A backup offensive lineman might be the same thing. Once you get into the 4th, I think everybody kind of comes off as a project.
Sure.
I also think, here's your hot take going into the 4th round, that a quarterback becomes possible here.
Interesting. So you're basically saying a project then potentially at quarterback. Okay, Cook was taken by the Vikings at 41 overall. What they did was they made a trade with the Bengals. They pass on Mixon. They move up from 48 to 41. They take Cook. Not surprisingly, the Bengals then turn around with what was the Vikings pick and take Mixon, who's a troubled guy, but not surprising for Cincinnati to do so. Your thoughts on Cook, who does have some past problems as well. They're not on video, and they're certainly weren't talked about as much as Mixon's were. Nonetheless, Cook does have past issues.
And both Rick Spielman and Jimbo Fisher and Dalvin Cook all went out of their way to tell us that there was nothing to see here, no big deal. But I think there's no question that there still is a concern when you draft someone that has background issues. And I don't think that Dalvin Cook would be here in any way, shape, or form in the 2nd round if those weren't part of the conversation. That I think teams will wait on those types of guys unless it's an all-time great talent, which I think Dalvin Cook is a very, very nice player. Pro Football Focus ranks him as their #1 running back. I don't think he's an all-time great talent, but I think getting this player, if he does have his life in order, is a huge boon for the Vikings, because now their backfield looks pretty darn dangerous with Jerick McKinnon and Latavius Murray, that I think most people would have felt like is a pretty good upgrade from where they were last year when Adrian Peterson went down. And now you have this dynamic talent who could step in right away. I mean, we saw this from Ezekiel Elliott, and I think that rookies at the running back position can step right in and play and make an impact right away in the NFL. Saw it also last year from Jordan Howard.
On Cook, to hear Jimbo tell it, this guy is going straight to Canton. If you read the scouting reports, what you find out is he's a very good back. Pass catching stats aren't awful, but pass catching is a little bit suspect. And the scouting reports that I came across also said that this is not necessarily a 3-down back, and that pass protection, sound familiar? Could be an issue. So where are we to take this between Jimbo basically trying to get this guy a bust in Canton and the prospect reports saying, no, there are going to be some issues here?
See, I think that a lot of these rookie running backs, it says they don't know how to pass block, because how often are they asked to pass block when they're the main part of a team's offense?
Probably not.
Right, it just doesn't happen very often. Also, the Vikings just so happened to pick up the 3rd best ranked by Pro Football Focus pass blocker in free agency, being Latavius Murray, that he's a tremendous pass blocker and maybe can give Dalvin Cook a few tips along the way. But I think that that's a thing that every
rookie...
rookie...
Could be the 3rd down guy, too. Right?
Yes, he can, and Jerick McKinnon can too. And I also think this opens up the possibility of 2 running back sets for Pat Shurmur to play around with. And the one thing that stuck out to me that Jimbo Fisher talked about was his ability to read blocks and understand how an offense works and what part of it he is. He talked about his great eyes for looking where he was supposed to look. And I think that that is one thing that is absolutely necessary in the NFL, knowing where your eyes are supposed to be, knowing how a play is designed and how it's supposed to work. And if he's good at that, he can succeed because he certainly has the physical tools.
And then in the third round, the Vikings and Trader Rick again get busy.
Trader Rick.
They make a trade with the Jets, and they take a guy that we've talked about quite a bit in the past few weeks, Pat Elflein, center guard, taken by the Vikings. Is this your starting right guard on opening day?
I believe it is, yes. I think that Joe Berger will start at center and that Pat Elflein will start at right guard. Number one reason why, he is a tremendous run blocker. Rick Spielman, just talking with us a few minutes ago, discussed his nastiness, and that is a real thing.
Thinking a little Alex Boone maybe at the left side,
and I think there is a little
side.
Alex Boone in Pat Elflein, and his nastiness and his run blocking ability is probably better than Alex Boone's, and it's what this team really needed. I mean, when you rank dead last, I mean, that's really an indictment on what you had going on at guard last year. And now there's some position flexibility with him that if Joe Berger gets hurt, he can move on over. But it's the run blocking from this guy that's really going to stand out. The pass blocking might be a little bit more suspect, but you're talking about the guard position. So even though there are some very nice nose tackles and defensive tackles that can get after the quarterback, it's the running that is the key on the interior. And they upgraded right there because they had nobody at right guard that had any sort of starting experience.
Well,
so I think he's got
tackle too. I mean, we could get into that whole thing with
yeah.
who they didn't have. So day one of the draft, the Vikings didn't have a first-round pick. It was very boring. Day two, you get 2 picks. Just real quick here. Day 3, you're going to get 3 fourth-round picks, no fifth-round pick from the Vikings, a 6th-round pick, and then 3 more in the 7th. So I'm guessing tomorrow there's going to be plenty more trades. As I said, Spielman loves this weekend.
Lots of trades, lots of conference calls, and lots of project players.
Which means, you know what that means? Lots of coverage at 1500 ESPN.
It does. It does.
From you.
From me.
I think I'm going to avoid this place tomorrow. Like
right
the play.
Here. 1500 ESPN.
That's Coller. I'm Zulgad. Thanks
Represent
for coming.
the brand.
Thanks for coming to the website. Oh, and I mean, I got this nice shirt on.